And I've lived a long time, and I thought that business and money were my forte. However, I've learned week to week from Darren Farwell, who is Senior Wealth Advisor from Scotia Wealth Management, that I don't know very much about investing money, and it's a whole world unto itself. He's talked about overcoming 5 challenges of retirement. He's given us the 3 most important principles of investing. And I can go on and on for the topics that sort of make my jaw drop as he shares information. And I'm looking forward to learning again. So good morning, Darren.
Good morning, Marilyn. And you mentioned you've lived a long time, and I have to say I'm in that category as well. But it's interesting that over all that time, sometimes we relearn lessons over and over that we probably should have known. And the election of now President-elect Donald Trump gave an opportunity for some of that relearning. So I'll get to that. I've been away for a little while. A significant part of that time I was at the Chairman's Council Conference for Scotia McLeod. I left the Thursday after Donald Trump had been elected president. And much to my surprise, I left with some comfort. I mean, it seemed that the politicians were shaking hands and, making nice with each other. That was good. And the stock market seemed higher. So that evening, when it looked for sure like it was going to be President Donald Trump, I was a little bit nervous about the idea of having to go away later in the week and what I might be dealing with. As I say, much to my surprise, things seemed to be calm. And I don't know, Marilyn, did you feel confident that everything would be calm the day after President Trump?
Not everything nor me. I'm really still shaking in my boots waiting to see how things unfold. But you're smiling, so it lets me know that maybe things are going to be okay.
Well, certainly there's a degree of risk that there wasn't before because we don't really know what Donald Trump might do or President Trump might do that now that he's in office. There's, of course, along with risk, there's opportunities. But what happened in my mind, even from an investment perspective, is that there was a real basic lesson of investing that came from that whole process. And that is, don't try to time the market. Now, many of us have heard that, don't try to time the market before. But another way of looking at it is don't try to anticipate what the market might do as a result of things. Because as we could see from the election of President Trump, the market can react in very different ways than we expected. Even, for example, with Brexit back in the summer, we thought that would have a devastating effect for markets. It went down for one day and then straight up for the next couple of months. So if you are a long-term investor, get invested and let the magic of compounding returns and an expanding global economy do their magic and make money work for you over the long term. One of the most successful investors in U.S. history was Peter Lynch, and he worked for Fidelity Investments. His favorite fact was the fact that more people have lost money forecasting market drops and staying in low-interest, highly taxed cash than ever lost money in stock market declines. Peter Lynch's fundamental lesson is if you're a long-term investor, get invested and stay invested in good quality investments. Now, quite frankly, that's a principle I've always stuck with, and my clients have been served well because of it. But in the face of a Donald Trump presidency, I must admit I wavered a bit. Now, there were clients who called me sort of a month ahead of the election or even as much as 2 months before saying, if he wins, it'll be disaster, so sell 50% of my investments or sell 60% of my investments, or some people even wanted to sell all of their investments.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't uncommon at all, especially as it looked more and more like he might win. So I said, I understand your worry, and also gave some possible alternative scenarios, alternative to it will be the end of the world. And most importantly, I reiterated the importance of keeping your eyes on the long term. Now, Marilyn, I've heard you say that it's like when you're driving a car.
Exactly.
What do you say, Marilyn?
My dad said, don't keep your head on the hood. Look down the road, way out there, and then you'll drive straight and you won't have to worry.
And you'll get to where you're going to go.
Exactly.
There'll be some bumps along the way, but you'll get where you want to go. Likewise, Don't sell quality investments in anticipation of what might go wrong. Because as we've seen since Donald Trump became president in waiting, the TSX is up 3% in 1 month. That's not bad. I mean, that's not even good. That's great. But who would have forecast that? Now, I admit, where I wavered is when clients had new money coming in during October, I waited to see what would happen. Don't time the market. If we'd just got invested for long-term investors, we'd have been up 3% right out of the gate. So I'll say it again, as Peter Lynch said. I'm going to say it to myself, and I'm going to say it to our listeners. Don't try to anticipate what the stock market will do. If you are a long-term investor, get invested and stay invested. Now, let's not confuse that with ignoring your investments. What do we need to watch for? Well, any hints of policies that will restrict global trade will be assigned to move to more defensive, safer investments. We are watching President Trump's policy announcements around what he will do about trade very closely, but we're not going to anticipate what he might do. But in the meantime, we are doing something, because both President waiting Trump and our Prime Minister Trudeau have stated specifically that they're going to spend on infrastructure. This will provide some of the jobs and financial lift that a large swath of the population that lost jobs or were forced into lower-paying jobs as a result of what's happened in globalization in the last few years. This is what they're going to need. And we'll do that until policymakers come up with a longer-term solution. But infrastructure investments are the type of investment that pension funds own because they pay a reliable, high yield, 3 to 6%, and it's very steady yields. They also provide the opportunity for your capital to grow over time. So we are, and have been since President Trump was elected, shifting our portfolios to own more infrastructure investments to take advantage of the real fact that both President Trump and Prime Minister Trudeau have said they are going to spend on infrastructure. So we're going with what we know, not trying to anticipate what might happen.
So it sounds to me that you have a map and the road might have hills and valleys, but you have a destination. And the goal is for money to be earned so that people have peace of mind. And you're aware of the hills and valleys, and if there's a detour necessary, you're aware of that too, and you've set it up by going into these pension funds. If someone's sitting there with their investments done and they're, close their eyes to the rest of the world because for 30 years they've been putting their money this direction, maybe they need to know about that map and not just the destination, but the new detours that are available to them, because that usually saves you time and anguish when you know you don't have to go over the bumpy road. Are you going to work today after being off for a while?
Yeah, I'm not going sunbathing outside today, so I'm going to go back to the office.
Okay, so if someone wants to speak to you this morning?
Yes, they'd be fine to call me.
So 416-863-7501. Yes, there are bumps in the road. None of us can predict the future. You can talk to someone who will guide you. He's been there. He's done that. He's investigating and on top of the game so that if there is a detour that'll save you having the anguish of a bumpy ride, he can show you that. A second opinion, I think it's always valuable. And Darren, you've said it before many times, it's become sort of a modus vivendi for the show. You don't know what you don't know. So don't be afraid of information. Take your information from experts, assess it, and then be proactive in your life. Darren is there for you. He's Senior Wealth Manager for Scotia Wealth Management. He'll be at his office today, or you can set up an appointment going forward. Free coffee and parking if we come downtown?
Free coffee and parking, absolutely.
Okay, and you'll make yourself available by phone as well.
I will, yes.
So 416-863-7501. Don't bite your fingernails. Don't worry. There is a path. It's better to understand what's going on than just sort of bite your fingernails and sit there and wonder if you've done it right. You can actually have some assurance if you speak to Darren. So welcome back, Darren. I'm glad to have you, and I'm glad to learn from you now. I know something else about infrastructure and the detours of finance that are possible.